My name is Darcy Dement, and I'm a co-founder of Juniper Strategies. I'm here today to share with you how Juniper is helping people drive rapid transformation for their organizations through strategy automation. Juniper Strategies is a startup that is all about helping companies make better strategic and financial predictions so that they meet their business goals. Our whole company was born out of a curiosity about why some companies succeed and others fail, and how we could use data and technology to help predict which strategies have the best chance of success so that every organization can succeed and reach its goals. We help companies do 4 things. Develop strategy scenarios, which could mean organic or inorganic investment through M&A, improve financial predictions under those strategy scenarios, align culture to strategy to ensure that your people are brought into your strategy and that they make decisions every day to support that strategy, and drive operations in line with the strategy and close the loop between operational views and your strategic planning cadence. We do that using our own proprietary AI and data-driven models that we deliver today through advisory services, but that we are also in the process of productizing as software for people who want to have access to that IP in-house. When we work with clients, we find that they typically fall into a couple of different categories. The first is executives who are tasked with growing their companies but who face a lack of compelling options to drive growth. Maybe they have a high share of a market that's slowing down, or maybe they're expecting new market dynamics that could make it difficult to grow market share in the future. Or maybe they're in a situation where they're not just anticipating that these challenges might play out down the line, but they're already here right now, which means that those people need to drive a rapid turnaround today. Or maybe it's a corporate development or a deal team that needs a way to quickly validate a growth thesis and come up with the right valuation. In any case, people in all of these situations are looking for a way to objectively consider and compare new options, strategic pivots within the core, new market adjacencies, or maybe an acquisition, and asking themselves what trade-offs to make to fund those investments. When trying to work through these challenges today, people face a lack of quantitative, holistic tools that can handle the degree of complexity and uncertainty that is inherent in strategy planning at a certain scale. And while there's always uncertainty in predicting outcomes into the future, the risk profile goes up even more if you're also looking at expansion into new markets or adjacencies that are outside the core business. You might be trying lots of initiatives in parallel, trying to decide which ones to focus on and which ones you can drop. The improvements might not be coming fast enough, and you might be struggling to connect dots from disparate processes for strategy, operations, or culture. The second category of use cases is private equity, boards, and corporate leaders looking to improve company valuation to prepare for an exit. While every company looks to increase valuation pre-exit, it becomes particularly acute when the company isn't meeting its pre-acquisition targets. This might be because some key diligence assumptions didn't work out as expected, or because of some market shifts or operational challenges. So these people might be in roles such as PE managing partners or managing directors, who need to boost a portco's performance, a portco leader who would be responsible for driving such an operational improvement or turnaround, leadership teams, again, looking into new growth strategies, or generally speaking, value creation leaders who are laser focused on driving the highest exit multiple possible. So this is all about value creation. Like the first use case, this one is also about driving top line growth, certainly, to build confidence in the plan to drive the next phase of revenue expansion. But it also hinges on controlling costs, with a focus on the investment that's needed to drive the revenue growth and precision in terms of the cuts that can be made with the least impact to top-line revenue today. Often there's a strong sense of urgency also, with the planned exit looming and the pressure to drive a high return. At Juniper, we help people and companies in both of these situations by taking the guesswork out of strategic decision making. Because in business, it's not enough just to make fast decisions. You have to know that you're making the right ones. We use data and AI to bring together strategy, operations, and culture so that you can make informed decisions about your company's best paths to success. But we're not just another Gen AI wrapper. You're probably getting bombarded by messages from companies applying AI to everything, by sitting on top of commercially available large language models and targeting them at specific applications. Essentially, this is what we call Gen AI application wrappers. But we're not one of those. We use Gen AI for part of our tool stack for data ingestion and synthesis, But the core of our IP is our own proprietary patent-pending model for predicting market share gain and financial results. It's the only holistic, complete model available for evaluating the cross-functional trade-offs for you to meet your business goals. Then it forecasts financial outcomes using a hybrid, multi-layered Monte Carlo approach coupled with super forecasting methodology that research has shown is the best way of making a prediction. These tools are built for business leaders, not just data scientists, to deliver the insight you're familiar with from strategic and operational planning consulting engagements at software speed and cost. The Juniper application is designed to give you confidence that the strategic decisions you're making are going to lead your company to achieve its goals. Today, we use this application behind the scenes when working with clients through a services engagement, and going forward, this is the same IP that customers will be able to access through a software product. There are 3 core modules within the Juniper application. The first is Market Insight. Here we do use generative AI to ingest and synthesize anything available in the public domain about the market, the strategy of the company, and its competitors. We can also include any private or paywall or subscription controlled reports or data as well. If you're worried about security, rest assured that all your data is secured and that none of it is ever used to train an LLM. We apply techniques at this stage to target the LLM for the strategic questions at hand, and we apply some techniques to reduce hallucinations. We do all this to identify the high impact trends on a scale not possible with human teams alone. And then we combine that with specific customer needs-based survey data or a close proxy to understand what really drives customer purchasing behavior. All of that goes into our proprietary strategy and operations module for predicting market share gain. The next slide will explain more, but it objectively quantifies an organization's likelihood of taking market share that can be applied to different strategy scenarios. That model also relies on the financial data on the company and its competitors. All of that data and the market share prediction are fed into the financial projection module, which forecasts financial performance using the super forecasting methodology and hybrid multi-layered Monte Carlo simulations. If you're not familiar with super forecasting, it's built on a 4-year, $20 million IARPA project to find the best method for predicting future events, and we apply it here to business outcomes just as it's been applied to intelligence and geopolitics. The last optional data ingestion is a specific type of employee survey data for clients who want to assess their company's decision-making cultural alignment to their strategy. The output of this is a predictive financial model, the assessment of cultural alignment to strategy, and the competitive scorecard that can be used to predict strategic success. You can apply this to multiple strategy scenarios to compare them and determine which is your best bet going forward, both in revenue and in profit or EBITDA. And you can also do this in the context of diligence, either to assess a target's future performance or for synergy assessment between the acquiring company and the target. All of this can also be automated in a recurring loop so that you can constantly monitor and update for changes that might impact your financial predictions. When there's new information detected that means that one of your assumptions is now out of range, the system can notify you so you can decide whether you want to update one of your assumptions and update your prediction. Let's zoom in on the strategy and operations module for a minute. The strategy and operations module gives you a quantitative assessment of where you need to focus to gain market share. We say it is a holistic causal model that is based on a simple principle that end customers will tend to choose a solution that they perceive delivers the highest value at the lowest cost. Since companies can't differentiate everywhere, you've got to decide where you're going to aim to excel. Maybe having the most advanced products, or having the best post-sales support, or having the most efficient sales channel. So you can assess both sides of the equation. How much value you deliver to customers across the customer journey, as measured by their most important purchasing criteria, against the company's efficiency in delivering that value across the customer journey relative to your competitors. What's different here is that we look at the multi-layered cross-functional interdependencies to really understand what's going to grow market share. Many times, strategy is a budget exercise where you shift capital allocation and hope for a different outcome, but it stops there. There's no assessment of whether these budget assignments are really going to help or not. What's the multiple chain of events that has to happen to realize the upside? And how do you link together the cross-functional trade-offs deeper in the organization in order to realize the best return? This is what is unique about the Juniper Strategy and Operations module and what earned us top praise from top strategy thinkers such as Felix Oberholzer-Gee of Harvard Business School, who said that in 3 decades of strategy research, this is the only model he's seen to review all aspects of a business at once and make a data-driven decision. This is typically how we work with clients through advisory services. There's an initial kickoff and ramp-up phase where we perform leadership team interviews to understand the context, and we also start the scrape of publicly available information to create a first pass baseline. Then we get into data ingestion. This is where we need more information from your team to ensure that we have the right data going into the application. The involvement we need here is anything existing on customer needs and employee engagement if we're also doing the cultural alignment assessment, reviewing the customer survey for understanding customer needs and the employee survey if cultural alignment is again something that we want to do, providing the report level financials and needed to run the assessments. And then we start working on the initial projection. Here, where we need your team's input and involvement is in reviewing and iterating on the assumptions that feed the financial prediction. While there's a lot that we can gain from the scan of public information, we always want to work with a small set of domain experts who understand the market and who can help us make sure we're including the right assumptions. Or, again, if you're pursuing an adjacency, at least that we're aligned on the key things to consider. We always advocate for weekly project meetings to make sure that we stay on track. And this middle part of the process typically takes 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the level of engagement and how quickly we can get survey responses back, but it can go quicker in some circumstances. Then, once we've iterated through all that, then we build a final report and share it out with you. Of course, we're constantly updating you on the projections throughout the whole process on our weekly calls. In terms of typical outputs, here was what it usually looks like. It usually culminates in a final report that includes market sizing and trend analysis for each market segment, an assessment of customer needs and where the market is overserved, appropriately served, or underserved to inform your product and service investments, the competitive scorecard that shows the strategy and operations module assessment results, meaning how you stack up against customer expectations on value across the customer journey and how efficient you are versus your competitors across that customer journey. All of that is packaged up into a final report with a recommended action plan so you can decide how you want to take it forward. That's how we work with clients today when we're partnering with them as advisors through services. But as we've said, we are also productizing this IP for customers who want to get access to it directly in a software product. We are actively building our list of early access users to have first access to the product when it's available later this year. If you are interested in joining the early access program, go check out our website and sign up there to be notified when it's ready. Now to cover some instances of where we've run this in practice. This is one company we work with as a global leader in IT networking and automation. They were struggling to gain market share against the market incumbent, and they were looking for help in deciding what to do. So to help them, we ran first a strategy assessment and a culture assessment and did a deep dive into customer needs. We quickly worked with them through a 2-day workshop prepared by analysis going in. What that analysis told us was that they had an extremely strong pricing position and that they delivered tremendous value to their customers for the price, relative, again, to the competition. Their customers loved the value they delivered, but that they still were relatively unknown. In Juniper assessment terms, their financing engine score was extremely high, but their consideration engine score was very low. Part of this assessment process is determining where you need to improve, but also what opportunities you have to divert investment to fund those improvement areas. So in this case, what the assessment told us was that they should raise prices and use that to fund a marketing campaign to drive awareness of their value to prospect customers. This was another case of a company that had grown through acquisition, this time in secure storage solutions. With a new leader coming in, they realized that they had a number of challenges in integrating these companies together. While they were trying to tackle this through a matrix organization across sites, they realized that their employees might not be as bought into the company strategy as they had hoped. So the solution was to run the strategy and culture assessments. The core insight was that they had wildly disparate subcultures by acquired company, level, and function. The most acute difference was that the manufacturing function had significantly better culture than the other functions, with customer-facing functions scoring the worst. Ultimately, this led them to instill a complete cultural realignment and change management initiative, and ultimately the board also forced a leadership change to drive better alignment and integration. This last use case is from a global industrial infrastructure provider that wanted a way of predicting financial results several years down the line. They wanted to be able to game out different scenarios for future growth depending on what happened with the market, competition, customers, and regulations. Their goal was to predict their financial performance with a given set of strategy assumptions, but then set it up such as this was a living model that would get constantly updated over time as those assumptions change. Their vision, which is one that we share, is to be able to have a way to simulate these different strategic scenarios and have a system that they could quickly use to tweak the strategic assumptions and project the different outcomes. But then once they selected a given strategy, the system would do all the automated scanning of new information and alert them when an assumption needed to change based on that new information. The result of this work gave them insight into their core market, but also the attractiveness of some new geographies for their core product offering, as well as a new growing product adjacency that they wanted to pursue. Overall, this analysis gave them much better insight into how to structure their capital allocation today to set up their company for success tomorrow. So thank you for joining me today. Feel free to drop us an email if you'd like to go deeper into our approach and application and what they enable. We would also be happy to set up a personalized product demo to show you how it might apply to you for your specific use case and what you're trying to achieve. So don't hesitate to write us at info@juniperstrategies.com, and thank you again for joining us.